Hi all, welcome back to my channel Q Warrior, and here we only discuss the interview questions that is asked in the testing interviews. And if you are new to this channel, so it's very important to subscribe and also press the bell icon to get notification about this channel. And today we are going to see another important topic, and it's very important to watch this video till the end. So let's begin. So today's topic is 7 software testing principles. Now, I'm sure that everyone is aware of the 7 principle of software testing. So this topic is very important from the software engineering, from the ISTQB point of view. So please be focused in this video. And these fundamental testing principles help the testing team to utilize their time and effort to make the testing process an effective one. And in this video, we will learn in detail about all the 7 principles. So now let's understand what all the 7 testing principles are. The first one is exhaustive testing is not possible. Defect clustering, pesticide paradox. Testing shows a presence of defects, absence of error, fallacy. Early testing. Testing is context dependent. Okay. So these 7 you can consider as the 7 pillars of testing. It is also the 7 testing principle which every tester should keep in mind while performing the testing. Now let's understand each of the 7 testing principle one by one. So the first one is exhaustive testing is not possible. So it is not possible to test all the functionality with all valid and invalid combination of input data during actual testing. Instead of this approach, testing of a few combination is considered based on the priority using different techniques. Okay. Also, in exhaustive testing, it will take unlimited effort and most of these efforts are ineffective. Also, the project timelines will not allow testing of so many numbers of combination. Hence, it is recommended to test input data using different method like equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis. So these two methods, equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis, are very effective. I have already created a video on this. I will provide a link in the description. You can go and watch this video. This will help you to reduce your time and effort taking to perform any kind of testing. Okay. So what actually happens in exhaustive testing, let's understand with an example. So for example, suppose we have an input field which accepts alphabets, special characters and numbers from 0 to 1000 only. Imagine how many combinations would appear for testing. It is not possible to test all combinations for each input type. So the testing efforts required to test will be huge and will also impact the project timeline and cost, because for example, using the equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis, you have created now 20 scenarios, but when you are using each and every combination of the test data, you will have around 1000 or 2000 scenarios. So in order to test those 2000 scenarios, you will take the help of either some more resources, or if you are doing it alone, you will take 10 times the number of days that you are taking to execute only 20 scenarios. So this is the difference. Also, it is always said that exhaustive testing is practically not possible. Okay, so always keep in mind that exhaustive testing is not possible. You can't test each and every permutation and combination of the test data. Okay, now second one is defect clustering. So defect clustering states that a small number of modules that contain most of the defects detected. This is the application of the Pareto principle to software testing, that approximately 80% of the problems are found in 20% of the modules. By experience, you can identify such risky module, but this approach has its own problem. If the same tests are repeated over and over again, eventually the same test cases will no longer find new bugs. So the third principle is pesticide paradox. So repetitive use of the same pesticide to eradicate insects during the farming will over time lead to the insect developing resistance to the pesticide. thereby ineffective of pesticides on insects. So why we use insecticides in farming? So insecticide helps us to protect crops from insect pests, weeds and fungal diseases while they are growing. It also prevents rats, mice, flies and other insects from contaminating food while they are being stored, safeguard human health by stopping food crops being contaminated by fungi and all. If you are using the same pesticides to eradicate the insect during the farming, it what will happen is the insect will get used to it and they will develop resistance to the pesticide. And even if you apply the same insecticide, it will be of no use. They will not die easily. It may happen that they will become senseless, but after some time they will regain their consciousness and they will not get eradicated. So that's the reason you don't have to use the same pesticide again and again. You have to make changes in your pesticide. The same applies to the software testing. If the same set of repetitive tests are conducted, the method will be useless for discovering new defects. To overcome this, the new test cases should be regularly reviewed and revised, adding new and different test cases to find more defects. Testers cannot simply depend on existing test techniques. He must look out continuously to improve the existing methods to make testing more effective. But even after all the sweat and hard work in testing, you can never claim your product is bug free. You can think that a company like Microsoft would not have tested their OS thoroughly and would risk their reputation just to see their OS crashing during its public launch. So that's the reason you have to come out with different test techniques. You should not depend only on the existing test technique. You should get your test cases regularly reviewed, revised and add new and different test cases. This will help you to find more defects. Okay, so this was all about the pesticide paradox. Now fourth is testing shows a presence of defects. Now what's happened is hence testing principle states that testing talks about the presence of defects and don't talk about the absence of defects. It means the software testing reduces the probability of undiscovered defects remaining in the software. But even if no defects are found, it is not a proof of correctness. But what if you worked extra hard, taking all precaution and make your software product 99% bug free, and the software does not meet the needs and requirement of the client? So for example, the requirement was to create an application that takes the order where the user can place the order, but you checked everything but you didn't check the need and requirement of the client. You put your all the effort you have taken all the precaution, you made sure that the software is 99% bug free, but you did not check the requirement. So what will happen is this will lead us to the next principle, which states that absence of error. So let's see the absence of error where you will understand next principle. So absence of error or fallacy. It is possible that the software which is 99% bug free is still unusable. This can be the case if the system is tested thoroughly for the wrong requirement. So you are not sure about the requirement, you are just checking each and every pages, okay, but you are not sure what exactly the requirement is. You checked all the pages, everything is working fine, but the requirement is not implemented in that software. So software testing is not mere finding defect, but also to check that the software addresses the business needs. The absence of error is a fallacy. Finding and fixing defects does not help if the system build is unusable and does not fulfill the user's need and requirement. To solve this problem, the next principle of testing states that early testing. So next is early testing. Testing should start as early as possible in the software development lifecycle so that any defect in the requirement or design phases are captured in the early stages. Okay. it is much cheaper to fix a defect in the early stages of testing. So as soon as you find any defect in the requirement, you can directly take it to the client or stakeholders, so that the money or the effort or the time and the cost that was supposed to be involved in the development can be saved by fixing the defect in the requirement analysis phase only, and you have found the defect in the requirement. So this will save the time of development team as well as the testing team, and it will be cheaper also, because the client will not have to pay for that development phase which was of no use because there was a defect in the requirement. That's the reason it is told that it is much cheaper to fix a defect in the early stages of testing. But how early one should start testing? It is recommended that you start finding the bug the moment the requirements are defined. So in the requirement only you will have to start finding the defects. So this is what we call the early testing. Okay, and it really cheaper to fix a defect in the early stages. It will save a lot of effort and money. Testing is context dependent. So what we mean that the way you test an e-commerce site will be different from the way you test a commercial off the shelf application. Okay, all the developed softwares are not identical. You might use a different approach or methodologies, techniques and type of testing depending upon the application type. For example, if you are checking any POS system, you have seen a machine where they swipe your card and then ask you to make payment in the malls, correct? That is the POS system. The testing of the POS system will be very much different than testing an ATM machine. Now let's see the conclusion part. So software testing is an essential step in SDLC, as it verifies if the software is working as per the end user need or not. Testing identifies as much defect as possible. Hence, in order to perform testing effectively and efficiently, everyone should be aware and indeed understand the 7 principles of software testing clearly, and they are known as the pillars for testing. Most of the testers have implemented and experienced this principle during actual testing. Generally, the term principle means the rule or laws that needs to be followed. Hence, everyone in the software testing industry must follow these 7 principles, and if anyone ignores any of these principles, then it may cause huge to the project. So that's all in this video, and we will see most interesting and important topics in the upcoming videos. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and also comment down on the video if you have any queries. Thank you for watching.